Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Board Game Brunch, my monthly live Q&A right here on the Dice Tower. I'm really excited to have some of you join me this morning so we can chat about whatever you all want, whether that's my recent experience on the Dice Tower cruise, the games I've been playing here in January, the games I played in 2018, how I kicked booty on the game shows on the Dice Tower cruise, or anything you all want, really. We're 2 episodes into season 2 of Star Trek Discovery. I wouldn't be surprised if someone asks me my thoughts on that. I will not be spoiling anything for those of you who haven't seen it, obviously. Yeah, and the Good Place season finale just happened too. Some of my favorite TV shows, big things are happening recently. So I'm here. I'm happy to have you all join me. I see some people saying good morning in the chat already. So good morning. Oh, and I have a tiny surprise, although it won't stick around for long probably, but maybe's with me. Do you want to say hi, maybe? Oh my gosh, she's like floppy in a weird way. Let's see if I can you actually say hello to the chat? Yeah, is that our licks your way of saying hello? I mean, I already know that, but not everybody does. We've got someone watching from Scotland. Good morning. Well, let's see. Scotland would be probably about 8 hours ahead of me right now. So it's probably afternoon, early evening there, if I had to guess. Oh my gosh, maybe. You're so wiggly. So maybe. Do you like it when I do these live streams? You love it when people come over, but I think because all these people are behind the camera, you're not quite sure what to think and you don't know that they're there because you love people, but computers are less exciting. Oh, 5:30 p.m. Okay, good. I had that about right then, 8 hours. So perfect. All right, maybe if you don't want to stay on the stream, you don't have to. You just want to give me some kisses. Okay. Do you want to stay or do you want to go? I will give you the choice. And there she goes. All right. I know everybody loves seeing the pups, and maybe's generally the only one that's easy to get onto my lap. I mean, Sterling is small enough, but he doesn't enjoy sitting on my lap on the chair quite so much. So feel free to drop any questions you may have in the chat. I can kind of let some of those build up to some degree, and I can just kind of chat with you all for a little while. So recently got back from my very first Dice Tower cruise. It was my second cruise ever. First Dice Tower cruise, and it was a lot of fun. I didn't get to play as many games as I hoped, although that kind of is often the case at conventions, and I'm not necessarily disappointed by that anymore. I was trying to play with as many different people as I could, and as it turned out, since people know what my favorite games are, people were asking me to play things that are much longer games. So one of the attendees, Noah, said he and his wife really wanted to learn Star Trek Ascendancy. They had bought it and they hadn't had a chance to play it. They asked me if I would teach it to them. They brought it on the ship, and so I taught them the game, and that was a lot of fun. But obviously that took, between learning time and gameplay time, it took about 5 hours or so. So that's obviously a very large chunk of time, one of the days. I did get to play a game of Battlestar Galactica with some of the people on the ship, and that was a lot of fun too. I hadn't played Battlestar Galactica in over a year since then. So that was really exciting for me because it's one of my favorite games and I don't play it very often. It's weird. Even though it's one of my favorites, I don't know if any of you experience this, but I kind of get paranoid to teach it. I don't have a dedicated group here in Vegas that knows the game well. I have a dedicated game group that I play with every week, but a lot of them have either never played Battlestar Galactica or have only played it like once quite some time ago. So anytime I bring the game out, I end up having to teach it to new players. And while I'm pretty comfortable teaching shorter, smaller games frequently, larger games like that, especially ones that have a lot of different expansions. And with Battlestar Galactica, I always want to include some of the expansion content, which I believe you should do for sure if you own that game. Someone in the chat said no Discovery spoilers. I promise I will not be spoiling anything about Discovery. I will most certainly talk about my opinions on the show thus far if people are interested in hearing it. So no, I will not be spoiling anything. Do not worry about that. But yeah, teaching Battlestar Galactica for me like kind of makes me anxious. And I think it's because I love the game so much that I have an even like higher sense of pressure on myself to teach it well or to get people to love it as much as I do. Does that make sense? It seems odd that I would be hesitant to break out one of my favorite games, but I am, because I know I have to teach it. And if I don't teach it well, it could ruin the experience for someone else. And so I think that makes it harder to get to the table. But I do want to get it to the table more. There are people in my game group who have probably never played it who might really enjoy it. And if I could get a group of people who've played it more than once to play it, it would obviously take less time too. So it wouldn't be quite as daunting of a task. I don't know. I don't know if any of you experience that at all with games. Maybe it's just me. But yeah, let's see. There's a couple questions in the chat. I did want to tell you all. So I had been hearing a lot of buzz online about what was in German Die Quacksalber von Quedlinburg, and is now the Quacks of Quedlinburg in the English edition, which is a game from Wolfgang Warsch, who a lot of you have probably heard of at this point. He is the designer of Ganz schön clever and The Mind, and he has another game coming out soon, I believe, but I don't remember what that one's called. But he seems to be all over the place. And the Quacks of Quedlinburg won the Kennerspiel des Jahres this past year. And everyone was saying, oh, it's awesome. And specifically, people were telling me, Crystal, you're going to love it. And I believed them, and I just never gotten a chance to play it. Well, this past Thursday at my game group, 2 different people brought this game. And I was like, okay, that's a sign. Clearly, it's my time to play this and see, wow, y'all were right. It is so much fun. So in the Quacks of Quedlinburg, I guess the theme of it is that you're all kind of snake oil salesmen, theoretically, like the people who would go to like old county fairs and sell bottles of who knows what and claim it was medicine. But that theme isn't really super present in the game. But the gameplay is so good that I kind of don't care. So it's a bag builder. Each player has their own bag, and you have a whole bunch of ingredients in it. And then every round, everyone pulls tokens out of their bags kind of simultaneously. It's not real time, but it's simultaneous actions. And you have a board in front of you with a circular spiral track that comes out from the middle. And every token you pull out has a number on it, and that will advance you on the track that many spaces. But once you hit a certain number of the white tokens, which are, I guess, the bad ingredient, then you can theoretically bust. So you have to decide based on what you're pulling out of your bag when you want to stop pulling. And the farther along you get in your bag, or on your track, excuse me, you get potential victory points, and you get spending power to buy new tokens to put into your bag, which are all ingredients. And what's cool is some of those ingredients have special powers that when you pull them from your bag in a subsequent round, they will either give you something immediately, or depending on where they end up on your spiral track, they could give you something really cool. So like the blue ingredients specifically, when you pull one of those out of your bag, if the place that you are to place it has a ruby on it, you get to collect a ruby immediately. And rubies are one of the forms of currency in the game that help you move your starting spot on your spiral track further ahead. They also help you flip over your little potion bottle, and your potion bottle can help you put back white tokens into your bag so you're less likely to bust. It's weird because the theme and the mechanics really, like the theme is very not present for me, but the mechanics are so much fun. Bag builders are not something I play typically. I've never played Orleans or Altiplano, I think, is the other one that people compare to. And those are both bag builders of some kind, but they're a little more Euro-y and strategic, I believe. This is my style. This is a game I love. Quacks of Quedlinburg is so good. It's funny because over on my podcast, Board Game Blitz, Ambi and I are going to be doing the 2018 Blitzies soon, which are our annual awards, that mean nothing technically, but we give out to games from the previous year. And I thought I had kind of nailed down a lot of my list. Now that I've played Quacks of Quedlinburg, everything is up in the air again, because it was so much fun, but I've only played it once. And it's hard for me to include a game on my top of the year list if I've only played it one time. So I might have to have my people from my game group bring it back again this coming Thursday and play it with me again, because I think it is probably deserving of a spot. Of course, that means it's possible that Wolfgang Warsch will take 2 spots on my top 5 of the year, because Ganz Schön Clever is a big deal for me as well. I have been obsessed. So I've played it multiplayer a bunch of times, but I've also played the app solo a whole lot. I'm going to look and see for you all how many times I've played the app. Statistics. Let's see if it will show. Whoa, it says 0. Where'd all my statistics go? Maybe I'm not logged in. Let's see. Oh, there it goes. I had a minor heart attack. Okay, so I've played Ganz Schön Clever 234 times. I don't know if is that blurry? That's probably blurry. Whoop. Ganz Schön Clever. I have played it 234 times in the app. That's a lot. My best score is 321. I have scored over 300 now, or 300 or higher, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. I'm very proud of that, because 300 was kind of like my white whale for a while there. Yeah, 234. I know. It's crazy. It's because it only takes like a couple of minutes to play the solo version of the app. So I just, like, anytime I'm sitting around for a couple minutes, I just break it out. Oh, okay. So people are mentioning in the chat that Twice as Clever, the sequel, is out in app form. Oh yeah, I already have that as well. I was playing it a bunch yesterday. Hold on, how many times? Okay, I've technically only played this one 9 times so far. So, but my scores are abysmal. People in this app can. My best score is 226, and right now the high score is 397. I think I know how all of it works now. So, because there's no instructions in the app, you just kind of. Or wait, it says rules. Oh, there are rules in the app. Never mind. Okay, but so, oh, wait, maybe, yeah. Okay, so there's rules in here. Just didn't read them. I've just been learning it the hard way, like a dummy. But anyway, yeah, it's called Doppelt, Doppelt, So Clever. And it's the sequel. And I can't wait to get the physical version of this one. But I really like it too. And it doesn't replace Ganz Schön for me, because it does, even though it's similar mechanically, it does very different things with the dice and like how you mark things off. So I think it's a really nice compliment. Oh, and people are saying that they can get the game from Amazon.de, German Amazon. Yeah, I love it already, and I don't need more of that in my life, for reals. But yeah, so getting back to where I started with all that, like, is Wolfgang Warsch going to have 2 games in my top 5 of 2018? I don't know. There were a lot of wonderful games in 2018. I think when I mathed it out, like, I did not play a bunch of the biggest releases of 2018, truthfully. Like, a lot of the ones that people have been, like, raving about, I haven't played yet. But I have played, I want to say it was between 40 and 45 different games that came out in 2018, which seems absolutely crazy to me. Like, that's a lot. That's almost 1 new game a week for the entire year. And obviously, I didn't actually play 1 new game every single week. A lot of that was from game conventions and other things. Oh yeah, people are mentioning Welcome To in the chat is a good one from 2018. That is definitely in on my short list for best of 2018. Maybe I'll convince Ambi to have a roll and write category. Oh, but see, then I'd still have to decide between Ganz Schön and Welcome To. And and guess what else came out in 2018? Let's Make a Bus Route, which is also technically a roll and write or flip and write, or as my friends at the Draft Mechanic podcast say, a rando writer, which applies to all types of those games, whether it's cards or dice. Still trying to make that name a happen. Name a happen? Rando writers for the win. That's what I'm trying to do. But yeah, Ganz Schön, Doppelt, all of the clevers, I'll take all of them, really. Like, they're all awesome, and I can't get enough of them. So Dice Tower Cruise was awesome. I don't know how many of you were able to join Eric and I for Dice Tower Tonight this past Wednesday. We did talk about it a little bit there, but we didn't have a ton of time to discuss. So if you all have any questions for me about the Dice Tower Cruise specifically, like if you want to know like the behind the scenes, like not Tom, not Jason, but like the real deal. No, it was wonderful, obviously. But I am happy to answer any questions for those of you who think, well, I don't know if a cruise is for me, or I don't know if the Dice Tower Cruise is for me. This was my first time going, and I can kind of give you some insights if you want. So someone asks if I got off at Haiti and Jamaica, And I did get off at both locations. So they did blah, blah, blah. Usually that stuff gets edited out of the podcast, but you guys get to keep it here. So in Haiti, the day we were docked there, I actually had to work in the game library for a good part of the morning. And then the group photo for all of the Dice Tower cruise attendees was in the like mid-afternoon. So I was able to get off the ship, but only for like an hour and a half. So I went onto land, and in Haiti, Royal Caribbean kind of owns this, like, I don't even know what geographical term would be correct, but it's a section of Haiti, like on the coast. It's called Labadee, and Royal Caribbean basically owns it. So it's not like you're in Haiti proper, truthfully. It didn't feel like we were like really in Haiti, if that makes sense. I'm not saying it wasn't lovely, but like it's all staffed by Royal Caribbean employees, and they like serve food there, and they have beaches, and they have activities and other things like that. So it didn't feel that special to me. And the one thing that I wanted to do, which was this like mountain coaster thing, it's kind of like not really a roller coaster, but like a single track, single rider guided thing. Eric was signed up for it. I wasn't, but I was just going to walk up and do it. And it was broken that day or not functioning for some other reason. So didn't get to do that. And then I was like, I only have an hour. What do I do? So I literally just laid on the chair by the beach for a little while and then got back on the boat. So Haiti was less than exciting, at least for me personally. But again, I didn't get to spend much time there. I know that there were excursions and other things that people who were off the boat for longer could do. And I'm sure that those were lovely. Then in Jamaica, one of the cruise's sponsors, Restoration Games, actually sponsored an excursion to Dunn's River Falls, which is this giant waterfall that like kind of stair steps down gently. And so you could get to climb the waterfall. You literally climb up the rocks where the water is flowing. And Restoration Games brought 50 people from the cruise on that excursion, which is amazing. So none of them had to pay for this excursion. Restoration Games covered the entire cost. And Sam and I were kind of the Dice Tower people for one of the groups. And then Jason and I think Melody were on, or at Z, Jason and Melody were all in the other group. But yeah, so we were literally climbing a waterfall and it was amazing, except that I kept falling a whole bunch. So I am a klutzy person by nature, and I'm just an expert at finding the slipperiest rock or the hole in the water where you can't step at all. It was a mess, truthfully. It was so ridiculous. I'm going to blow my nose real quick, if you all will excuse me for 2 seconds. Sorry about that. But yeah, the excursion in Jamaica was great. And I loved it. And I'm so grateful that Restoration Games put that on for everybody because it was beautiful. I will say that excursion took a really long time. Like we had to meet like first thing in the morning, as soon as we got off the boat, like as soon as they would let people off the boat is when we met up. Yeah, I need a cough button. I can technically mute my microphone, but I figured the work involved in doing that, it's not worth it. So yeah, so we got off the boat, literally met up, and then went, and then it was like more than an hour drive to the waterfall. So we were all on a bus for more than an hour. I made people on the bus play Win, Lose, Banana, which was fun. I figured, get people excited and playing a game, even though that's the silliest of silly games. But I think some people enjoyed it. Hopefully I didn't force anybody to do something they really didn't want to do. But yeah, more than an hour drive. And then we were at the falls for quite a while. And then after the falls, they took us somewhere where we could buy lunch. And I was kind of surprised that lunch wasn't included. Excursions I've been in other places like French Polynesia and Mexico. Like I remember most of them, especially if they were like a really long one that kind of stretched over a mealtime, like generally included food. And here food was not included at all. You had to buy your lunch separately. So I was a little surprised by that, but they took us somewhere where we could get lunch, and then they took us somewhere where we could shop. And then they drove us back. And by the time we got back to the boat, it was like, I think we literally walked up at like 3:55 p.m. and the gangplank was supposed to go up at 4 p.m. So we were cutting it really close. I think the excursion was supposed to get back earlier than that. And I'm not 100% sure why it was late. But yeah, basically, while Dunn's River Falls was amazing, like, I feel like I didn't get to see a lot of Jamaica. I really enjoy wandering in places like that and kind of just exploring a little bit. And I didn't get to do that, which is kind of a bummer, but guess what? I can always go back. So it's not that bad of a deal. But yeah, so that's what we did in Haiti and Jamaica. Did you do more cruise stuff or more gaming? More gaming for sure. I did almost no cruise stuff. I did go down one of the water slides, and I considered standing in line for the, what's it called? Like the wave rider thing where you could either surf or boogie board on, like, you know, a continually generated wave. But the lines for that were always really long. And yeah. So there were a lot of people on the cruise did the escape room that was there, and I wanted to, but just like one day someone asked me if I wanted to join their group, but at that time I wasn't sure about my schedule for the day they were asking me, so I had to turn them down. And then by the time I figured stuff out, they already had a full group, so I didn't end up getting to do the escape room, which was kind of a bummer because I heard it was pretty fun. It was only $20 a person to do the escape room, so that's not bad as escape rooms go, and everybody said they really enjoyed it. Otter says he likes my Fog of Love shirt. Thank you, Otter. It's on Redbubble. Angelus, the storyboard gamer, designed it with permission from the game's designers. I guess I could move my hair completely out of the way. That would be smarter. Yeah, so it's on Redbubble, and I love it. It's great. I don't wear white t-shirts very often, but I made an exception for this one because it's awesome. So, yeah. Oh, Adam, I miss your face too. So many people in the chat. Okay, I'm going to scroll back up. All right, Otter has a boosted comment here from earlier that I missed. Favorite gaming snacks? This is an interesting question because I am currently on a low-carb diet. So I think a lot of my favorite snack foods are kind of like out of the mix. A lot of people, when they do low-carb, go to nuts as snack foods, and I'm allergic to all types of nuts, so I can't do that. But cheese is kind of my favorite snack, like even when I'm not dieting. I love cheese, and cheese works on a low-carb diet too. And actually, I've found a whole bunch of packaged kind of freeze-dried cheese snacks. Like there's these, at Costco, they have Wisps, which are little circular Parmesan crackers. They're not really crackers. It's literally just Parmesan cheese. That's all it is. But it's crunchy and it tastes like a cracker kind of, and it's really good. And then Moon Cheese is another brand. They're these little like round puff-like things that again are just cheese, but they have a bunch of different flavors. They have cheddar, pepper jack, Gouda, and those are really good too. So like if I need something crunchy and I don't want to eat actual cheese, I think those like packaged cheese snacks are a good go-to for me. I do like fruit a lot, but not much fruit I can have on a low-carb diet. Some berries are okay, so I can do like a few strawberries or something like that. But yeah, a lot of fruit is out on a low-carb diet. And when I'm not dieting, gaming snacks, I mean, I love chips of just about any kind, truthfully, like all types of chips. And I'm one of those people, like I know people are like, oh gosh, no Cheetos or anything that gets stuff on your fingers near the games. Like I'm kind of a proponent of, unless I'm playing a game that's like seriously old, out of print, irreplaceable, I'm not very precious about my games to some degree. Like don't bend the cards in half, don't spill a cup of water on them, but like a little bit of general wear and tear is okay. And most of my friends are adults with reasonable table manners. So like if you want to eat some Cheetos, that's fine. Take a napkin, wipe your hands off, or go wash your hands if need be. And then we can keep playing. It's fine. Like I'm not one of those people who's going to ban Cheetos at the game table. Like if that's somebody's favorite snack, they should have those. And Cheetos are delicious. So I guess I've been told that some people eat stuff like that with chopsticks. so they don't get stuff on their fingers. I've never seen anybody do that, but I mean, if you want to keep playing and keep snacking, I guess that's a way to do it. All right, I'm going to scroll back up to the top and go through some of the questions that were asked. Tom Ripley, right at the beginning, asked, did you watch the Orville? I have not watched the Orville. I am not necessarily never going to watch it, but I just haven't yet. I think, I'm not quite sure. Seth MacFarlane, his content is, I used to watch Family Guy, but some of his stuff is a little bit problematic at times. He's definitely not the worst by far, but I think I was just kind of not super keen on the Orville when it got announced. And I'm not saying I'll never watch it, but I think I'm going to kind of let it happen for a little while, and then I'll pick it up later maybe. A lot of my friends who are hardcore into Star Trek love the Orville. And then there are some who are hardcore into Star Trek and hate the Orville. So I really I think it could go either way for me. Maybe I'll love it. Chances are that's entirely possible. But I honestly have a lot of TV shows that I try and keep up on, and I already don't have time for all of them. So I figure I'll add that one in at some point. Let's see here. Ashley Hector asked, when playing games, what tends to be your play style? Are you particularly aggressive, laid back, or somewhere in the middle? I think for me, it really depends on the game, and especially what aggressiveness equates to in a game. So if I'm playing a 2-player only game and it is head-to-head and you have to demolish your opponent in order to win, then I could be very aggressive. I also being aggressive for me is easier when having a clear target for the aggression is very clearly defined within the game. And by that, I mean, I don't like to have to just choose to attack someone, if that makes sense. So if I'm playing in a 4-player game and all the other 3 players are doing about equal to one another, and I need to attack someone, it becomes difficult for me to choose who to attack because I don't like having to hurt someone else. And obviously hurt within a board game is not real world hurt, but I think I tend to be a lover, not a fighter in general in life. And so I don't like to attack people if I don't have to. I generally will take non-aggressive routes to victory if possible, but I do occasionally, I can be vindictive. So if someone else attacks me, then I will often retaliate and I will go after them. It's kind of like they've opened the door. Oh, okay, well, I wasn't going to attack you, but now that you've attacked me, I'm coming for you. So I do kind of get that mindset occasionally, and I can be a little bit mean, I think, with that. But yeah, generally laid back. I don't pick games that people tend to classify as mean very often. If people are like, oh yeah, that game's really mean, then I just won't play it. What is the one? It came out from Kickstarter. It was about building theme parks, I think, like an amusement park. Not Steam Park. I own that one and love it. But there was one that came out I think last year or the year before. I don't know if somebody will drop it in the chat if they can think of what I'm thinking of, because I don't even know what to Google for it. Let's see, theme park board game. All right, I know there's a chat delay, so some of you may have already put it in the chat, and I just don't see it yet. The Steam Park comes up first. Oh, Unfair. Yes, I found it literally as soon as I saw it in the chat too. Yeah, Unfair came out, and a whole bunch of people were like, oh yeah, that game's really mean. So I was immediately turned off from even playing it. I have not, and I just don't want to anymore. And who knows, maybe it's a great game, but guess what? There's tons of great games, so it's okay if I don't play this one. But yeah, everybody says it's really mean. I mean, the name is literally Unfair, so I don't know. And people say there's a mode where you can take out the stuff that's really mean. But I don't want to mess with all that. I would just rather play a game that's nice in general, like Fog of Love, for instance, which is on my shirt. So, yeah. All right, I'm going to scroll back up. Let's see here. Yeah, Kabuki said, hope the Gons sequel will be good. It is. I mean, at least based on the solo game. It is. I love it. It's so good. I assume it's Wolfgang Warsch who designed this one too, right? Like I technically did not confirm that. Does it show? Let's see, credits. Yes, it is Wolfgang Warsch. He's got something magical going on in his head. Can he just design games like all day, every day, forever? Because so far I've loved everything of his that I've played. And they're all very different. Like it's because some designers kind of design similar types of games, and that's what you know them for. And people who love that type of game gravitate to them. But like The Mind and Gon's Shown Clever and Quacks of Quedlinburg are all very different, and yet they're all wonderful. It's baffling to me. I want to meet this guy. I would love to meet Wolfgang Warsch. I don't know how much English he speaks. I imagine mostly German, which I only took 2 years of in high school, so I can't speak in German well. When I was in Austria in 2005, I don't know if I've told this story before. Apologies if I have. But I was very excited to use what little German I knew. And so I went up to this food stand in Vienna, and I looked at what the menu had on it, and then I ordered my food in German. And I was a little bit slow about it, but I did it. And the guy behind the stand was kind of just like really nicely smiling at me the whole time. And then I finished speaking, and he looked over and he kind of just gave me like an even bigger smile. And he went, "You did such a good job," in perfect English. I was only 20 years old at the time, and I'm sure my face turned bright red. And he was like, no, really, you did a really good job. And I think obviously people in foreign countries, I believe they tend to appreciate when foreigners make an effort to speak the language. He was very genuine. He wasn't being condescending at all, but I was a little embarrassed anyway. But yeah, I ordered food in German, so I was proud of myself. Yeah. Let's see. Looking through the questions. Kabuki said Welcome To was their favorite rando writer from last year. Yeah, everybody likes Welcome To. They didn't do anything at the DR, I guess. I don't know what the DR stands for. I missed the context because this came up earlier in the discussion. Let's see. What was the most popular game on the cruise, maybe other than Wingspan? Okay, yeah. Wingspan was the hotness on the cruise ship. I wanted to play Wingspan desperately. So Wingspan is coming out from Stonemaier Games, and it's designed by Elizabeth Hargrave. And I don't know if you all know that name yet, but you should, because she seems to be a very talented designer. She actually co-won the Gen Cant Button Shy contest from this past summer. Her game Tussie Mussy was one of the winners of that contest, and I've played Tussie Mussy, and it is wonderful. So I really want to play Wingspan, and I cannot wait to play it. But yeah, on the ship, if somebody would check it into the library, every single time, literally without fail, there was someone else standing right behind them, like, to check it out. It never sat in the library the whole week. And then we put it in the hot games section, and it was being played constantly there, people hovering, waiting to play games of it. And then the last couple days of the cruise, we literally had to put a sign up that said Wingspan cannot leave the conference room, because it just kept getting taken and people were just clamoring for it. So it literally just had to sit in the conference room and people could play it. I was kind of like, I tried to hover at one point and I was like, ooh, maybe I'll get to play it. And I never got a chance to. So I'm kind of bummed, but I'm really excited to try it. It's a game about burbs. Come on, who doesn't like burbs? Burbs are great. Let's see. Otter says he has difficulty imagining Sam climbing a waterfall. No, he and Sam's sons were with him as well. And they all climbed the waterfall and did a great job. And it's simultaneously difficult and not difficult. So, because it's not super steep and it's not super long. You're only climbing for a little less than an hour total, but it's at a slow pace. Like, you would climb for a little bit and then we'd stop for a photo op, or we'd stop and play in the water a little bit. So it wasn't as strenuous as I expected. I actually thought I would have issues as a result of my asthma, because usually climbing and moving up elevation at all, whether it's stairs or other things, tends to exacerbate my asthma more than other types of physical exertion. And I had no problems. Like, I literally had my inhaler zipped into a tiny pocket on my swimsuit just in case. and I didn't need it at all. So it really wasn't that bad. Let's see here. Someone asked, did my husband join me and did he play much Magic? So my husband did come on the cruise with me. He did not play any Magic on the cruise. I told him he could bring decks if he wanted, and he'd have people to play with, but he didn't bring any of his Magic cards. But Roy Canaday of Epic Gaming Night, and now the video editor for the Dice Tower, did teach him Keyforge, which is obviously the same designer as Magic the Gathering, and Rob seemed to like that quite a bit. So Roy was kind enough to gift us 2 of his starter decks of Keyforge so we could keep playing. I still haven't gotten a chance to play Keyforge. I kind of watched them a little bit, but I was busy. I had to run off to one of the game shows that we were running on the cruise. So I didn't get a chance to play, but I think he enjoyed it quite a bit. Oh, somebody earlier said keto. I don't know if you were asking if my low-carb diet was keto or if you were asking what keto was. Keto is a style of low-carb diet, and that is what I'm doing. So whatever question you intended by that, hopefully I've answered it. Sin says, Jamaica was interesting. They had a guide who took us out of the port, said it was very interesting, so that's fun. Cheese on sticks is lovely for gaming. Also, it makes you feel like you're an English nobleman at the table. You know what? I haven't thought of that. I should put like little cheese with little toothpicks. That would be good. Somebody says, we generally have a no drinks on the table rule unless it's a sealed bottle. I tend to not do that. Although it's funny, one of my friends, when he came over for my birthday in December, there were so many mishaps. He spilled an entire plate of Italian food onto my game table. The plate collapsed because he wasn't really holding it and it went everywhere. But I have one of those poker tables and the felt is really easy to clean. And there were no games out at the time. So we were fine there. And then later he broke a lamp. He was having a rough night. And honestly, all I could do was just laugh because it was so funny. But yeah, drinks at the table, I usually let people kind of do whatever they want. And I know that most of my gaming friends, if heaven forbid they were to spill something and ruin a game, they would generally replace the components or the game itself if that were to happen. So I kind of let people do whatever they want to some degree. I don't play with children. I imagine if I played with kids, there would probably be a little stricter rules in place because, kids can't replace your games. Well, their parents could, but that would be not as good. So let's see. Yeah, Sin says, similarly, we're more interested in enjoying the games rather than stressing over keeping them pristine. We game with respectful people. That's all we ask for. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, even respectful people can make mistakes. Like my friend that spilled the plate of Italian food is a very respectful gamer and just had a brief moment of klutziness. But yeah, if I was to bring out a game that was irreplaceable, I think I would probably be like if we play the McDonald's game, it's funny, that game is pretty hard to find and near impossible to replace. So I think obviously I wouldn't want Cheeto fingers all over those tiny cards because they're not plastic or anything that's it's just literally kind of hard cardboard paper or whatever. So yeah, no Cheetos around the McDonald's game, I guess. And no McDonald's around the McDonald's game either because that fry grease, although maybe that would make it more authentic. If the game actually smelled like French fry grease, that might actually not be bad. I mean, it would be gross, but it would not be bad. Who knows? I'm not actually probably serving French fries. That would be fun though, to do a McDonald's game day, to bring in McDonald's and play the McDonald's game. I don't know. It feels like that would be fun, but it wouldn't be very long. That'd only be an hour. So we'd have to do something else. So a couple people said that they think I will like the Orville if I decide to watch it. It takes an episode or two to really show its power. So yeah. Okay. So, I mean, we'll see. My chat kind of jumped around for a second there. Now I'm back to where I was. Orville is very much like The Next Generation, has that flavor to it. What's funny is growing up, The Next Generation was my favorite series because it was the one that I watched regularly and saw the most of growing up. I hadn't really ever watched the original series except for the movies. I had seen all of the original series movies. And then when the Next Generation movies came out, I went and saw all of them in theaters. Then when Voyager and Deep Space Nine started, I watched episodes here and there of both of them, but never really got into either one as much as Next Generation. So now as an adult, over the past few years, I've been going back and rewatching the series. And I watched all of Next Generation first, and I loved it. It was great. There's a lot of bad episodes, but the series as a whole is wonderful. Then I moved to Deep Space Nine and I watched all of that, and it is a delight. It is so good. I am shocked that more people haven't been told they absolutely have to watch Deep Space Nine, especially because Ronald D. Moore was one of the writers on that show. And people who like modern Battlestar Galactica absolutely have to watch Deep Space Nine, because Ronald D. Moore explored similar themes in both of those shows. And it's so funny because you can see it as you go back and watch Deep Space Nine. You're like, oh, so he explored this stuff here, and then he took it to 11 in Battlestar Galactica. But like, Deep Space Nine is still really, really good. And the female characters in Deep Space Nine were previously, I think, some of the best written female Trek characters in any of the series. I say were. I'll get to the why that is no longer the case anymore in a second, although y'all probably can guess. So then I moved on to Voyager. I thought I had seen more of Voyager back in the day than I had. And so when I started watching Voyager, I was blown away by how wonderful it was. The things that I think annoyed me as a kid about both Deep Space Nine and Voyager really don't bother me at all. In fact, they're my favorite parts of these shows. It's stuff like in Deep Space Nine, I think Odo and Quark kind of annoyed me as a kid, and their relationship is one of the best parts of Deep Space Nine for me now as an adult. And I don't know why that is. Like, maybe because they were aliens, they were weird looking as a kid, it just was off-putting to me. Same thing, I think Neelix was off-putting to me in Voyager as a kid. I was like, ooh, creepy looking alien thing. I don't know if I like him. And Neelix is a great character. There are other characters who I am not keen on how they were treated, and there was some behind the scenes stuff in Voyager that is pretty bad, that I don't really like some of the decision making, but it kind of spoils plot points. I know Voyager is a really old show now. I never spoil things unnecessarily. People are always like, oh yeah, if it's been out for 2 years, you can spoil it. But in my mind, why would I spoil a thing if I don't have to? Like, if there's a chance you're going to go watch this thing, I want you to enjoy it for what it is. I'm not going to spoil it for you. So nonetheless, some of the decisions with characters leaving the show and coming into the show, I don't think were made for the right reasons. But overall, Voyager is great. So I've watched all 3 of those series again in their entirety. I enjoyed them all. But Next Generation is the worst of those 3, hands down, like easily. And I'm not saying I dislike it at all. I love Next Generation, both the show and the movies. And yes, that even includes Nemesis, which is the last movie in the Next Generation series that everybody hates. It has a very young Tom Hardy in it, for those of you who aren't aware of that. Tom Hardy, before he was Bane and all of these other things, and before he was a big, crazy, popular movie star, he played a young Jean-Luc Picard clone in Nemesis. That's not really a spoiler, for the record. You find that out very early in the movie. I guess it is technically a spoiler. I've broken my own rule, but it's like early in the movie spoiler. So sorry. But yeah, so Tom Hardy that's like, anytime I think of Tom Hardy, I think of him as that character first, not as any of his newer characters, which is weird. But yeah, Next Generation is not as good as Voyager or Deep Space Nine. It's got a lot of stuff in it that's not great. So yeah, I don't know if the Orville is like Next Generation, I'll still like it probably. That was a very roundabout way of saying that. Let's see. The longest game I've ever played. That's a really good question. I mean, TI4, so I've never played Twilight Imperium 3. I've only played 4th edition, which is streamlined to some degree. I want to say 5-ish hours is how long we've taken there. I've played a 5-hour-ish game of Star Trek Ascendancy. I want to say I've played games of Runebound that were close to that long, or maybe even longer. but it's hard to remember. So back when I used to play Runebound 2nd edition, we used to add in lots of expansion stuff and new maps, but this is literally now like 11 plus years ago since the last time I played Runebound 2nd edition with my friends in Kansas City. I know that they would take a very long time. We all worked graveyard shift, and we would start playing games on our night off around like 9 or 10 p.m. And then we would play games until about like 7 in the morning often. But that wasn't always all one game. But if we did play Runebound, it would take up a majority of the evening. But I'm not really sure. I would, if I had to guess, I would say between 5 and 6 hours is probably my longest game, single game session ever. Not session, single game ever. I don't think I've done anything longer than that. I've never played like Diplomacy or any of those types of games. And I'm not unwilling to play longer games. I think I tend to gravitate towards shorter, lighter games, usually because I'm very busy in my life, and I often use games as a way to decompress, and longer games don't really give me that decompression feeling as well. So like if I have a dedicated game day set up, that's when those long games are good, when I've like got the right mindset for it. But like on a Thursday night when I head to my weekly meetup with my friends, I'm almost never playing anything that lasts more than 2 hours. And even like I'm sticking often to games that are an hour or less for the most part, which is, I think some of the people in my group really prefer like longer, more strategic games. And I like those games too, but I just often don't have the brain power for them after I get off work on a Thursday. So let's see here. Longest game I've ever played that wasn't meant to be a long game. Ooh, that's actually a good question. I have played some games in the past with people who were very, very AP prone. So like AP stands for analysis paralysis, for those of you who aren't aware. And that's kind of like have people who have trouble making decisions. And so they often tend to take a long time on their turn. It's weird. I have some people in my game group who are kind of like that in general with lots of games. But I think my game group as a whole is just a slower paced group. And it doesn't seem to bother anybody. There are times where I'm like, okay, I'm just going to play one quick game and then I'm going to leave. And then that game takes a little bit longer than I anticipated. And that can be a little bit frustrating for me. But generally, like, I'm not going to get involved in a game if I really don't have the time to commit to it. So I can't think of anything specifically where like I thought it was going to be an hour and it took 3 hours. I'm sure there have been instances where something similar to that happened potentially, but nothing that comes to mind. If you don't know that much German, why don't you come along to Essen? I would love to go to Essen. I desperately want to go to Essen. I don't know when that's going to happen for me, but I cannot wait until I get to go to the Essen Spiel. It's just so freaking far. Vegas and Germany are very far apart. So the travel time alone is going to make that, you know, really, really difficult because I have to actually, you know, take time off from my day job, unfortunately, for all this board game stuff. And the day job only gives me a certain number of vacation days that I've stretched those thin and beyond in recent months. And luckily they've been very accommodating, letting me take some unpaid time off when my vacation days ran out. But it's tough because yeah, I don't get enough vacation days to cover all of the board game things that I want to do. Let's see. Americans famously only know one language. Yes, that is accurate. And it's sad because children learn new languages so much easier than adults. And if we were doing a good job of teaching kids other languages when they were young, it would be so much easier to make them bi or trilingual. And I really wish that I had learned more languages when I was younger, because doing it now is more difficult. And I've considered doing like Duolingo or any of those other programs that, you know, will teach you another language, but time is so short and so precious. It's hard to do. I definitely, if I was planning on going to another country and I knew in advance that that was happening, I would definitely make an effort to learn at least basic conversational words and things that would be helpful, because I am never the type of person who wants to assume that people will speak English, because I think that's rude. If you're in another country, you should at least make an effort. And obviously you won't be perfect and you won't know everything, but like, I think people who refuse to try, that's what's bothersome to me. Like, yes, it's hard to learn new languages, but you can learn a few words and you can learn other things. So, no, the ship did not stop in the Dominican Republic. Let's see. Otter says, am I the only person on Earth not super hyped about Wingspan? Maybe? I don't know. For me personally, like, I like the theme. I like that it's about birds. The components are great. The little eggs, the little birdhouse. And I love that it's by a female designer. I like games designed by women just primarily because there aren't enough of them yet. And I love that this one's getting a lot of hype. And I've played one of Elizabeth Hargrave's previous games and liked it. So that to me is why I'm hyped about it. Like, I'm not really hyped about it because other people are hyped, if that makes sense. Like, I'm sure that's probably adding to my excitement, but like, I was excited about it before everybody else was. That's how it makes me sound very hipster. I didn't mean it like that. Whatever, it's fine. Let's see. Sin said we had the chance to play Wingspan and we chose to go eat instead. Ugh, still regretting that decision. I mean, eating is also fun. And you'll get to play Wingspan another time. So don't worry about it. Any thoughts on all the misprints on the Wingspan cards? So I have heard rumblings here and there about this, but not like the details. So I don't really know what exactly happened or what the misprints consist of. But I know that the first printing was small and that there's new printings coming out soon. So I assume that they're fixing whatever the mistakes were pretty quickly. So I don't have any thoughts because I'm not 100% sure what it consisted of. Let's see. Brant says, I spilled an entire beer on a 6-player game of Root, and it's all perfectly fine. Props to Leader Games. That's awesome. And yeah, like, it's funny because people assume spilling a drink will automatically ruin everything it touches. That's not always the case. Now, for like cards specifically, water damaged cards can be pretty hard to recover if they're not made of plastic, because if they get warped, then it's hard to stack them or shuffle them or keep them distinct from one or not being distinct from one another. But yeah, like game boards, like in theory might take a little bit of the water, might discolor a little bit, but it's not generally going to affect the gameplay. I also recognize that a lot of people buy games, play them, and then plan to eventually potentially resell them or trade them away. I don't do that much yet. So I wonder if maybe if I start doing that, if I would start caring more. But truthfully, I don't buy games with the hope of making money back on them later at all. Like, that's just not, like, if I buy a game, my intention is to keep it forever. Obviously, I know that won't always be the case, but I'm not looking to make a quick buck on any games. So I think later, if something were to be water damaged and I wanted to sell or trade it, I would just say so. I would make it a little cheaper and say, hey, the board got some water spilled on it. Here's a picture of it. If you don't want it, that's fine. And I think there are other people who would say, oh, I get to save $5 and the game's still playable. That sounds great. I'm just more casual about this kind of stuff. Although it's really funny because in the moment when tragedy happens, when a drink gets spilled, I am the person who immediately freaks out about it. Like, not because of the game, but just because, oh gosh, something happened. And I'm a high anxiety person in general. So like, I'm the one freaking out in the moment, even though it's not that big of a deal. And I know it's not that big of a deal. Sometimes anxiety crystal takes over in those moments and it's hard to get her to let go. A couple of people have commented on liking Keyforge, saying that they don't like the deck building aspect of most games like that. Yeah, I think Keyforge is neat that the decks are pre-constructed and all unique. That's very, very cool. Otter says, let's see. Oops, my chat skipped around. We're going to go back up, skipping back up. Oh my gosh, I'm so far behind in the chat. Here, hold on. I'm going to pop this out because I only have about 7 minutes left, theoretically, although I can stick around as long as I want. So if we have a bunch of questions left in the chat, I will come back to them. So let's see. Whoop. I am so far behind. Otter says, one friend of mine accidentally dumped a whole full cup of tea on my copy of Mansions of Madness mid-game. I have never seen nerds move that fast ever in order to save the components. Oh, that means you have some really awesome friends. Because, yeah, I think if I was at someone else's house with someone else's game and something happened, I definitely would be one of those people who is lightning fast running for paper towels or napkins or whatever I could find. But yeah, that's neat that everybody was willing to pitch in. Because I kind of hate when something happens and everybody just sits there. Like, even if you don't know what to do, offer to help. It's not that difficult. Oh my gosh. Let's see. That's an incredible subtitle. Crystal, the respectful gamer. I mean, I think I'm generally a respectful person. I try to be, at least. I try to be respectful of everyone's experiences and thoughts and opinions. I don't always succeed in that, just like everybody else. I, have moments where I'm not my best self, but I'm trying. I live by a very specific mantra, and I don't always get to fulfill it the way I hope I will. But my mantra in life is I want every interaction I have with another person to improve their day, even by the smallest measure. So I try and live like that, basically. And that's even like, it's funny because it comes up in moments where I wouldn't expect it. My mom came to Vegas to visit me a while back, and we were walking through an outlet mall here in Vegas, and they have a bunch of those like kiosks in the middle of the aisles, where they're selling like those sticky toys for kids and little like helicopter drones and other kind of silly things, or like face cream or wrinkle reducing whatever's for your clothes. Like, it's all that kind of stuff. And I'm not interested in buying any of it, but I know that those people are employed and are trying to do a job, and that a lot of the day everyone's walking by them and pretending like they're invisible. And I don't think anyone should live an invisible existence. So when those people approach me, I look them in the eyes and I say, thanks, but no thanks. And I generally keep walking. Some of them can be pretty pushy, and that can be frustrating, but like, I think it's better to acknowledge that they spoke to me and tell them that I'm not interested in the product, but thank you for approaching me, rather than just pretending like they don't exist, because I can't imagine how heartbreaking that must be, to be standing there trying to do your job and everybody is ignoring you or pretending like you're not even there. So that's a roundabout way of explaining my mantra. But like, my mom was surprised that I was interacting with these people. She was like, don't talk to them. Just like, just look straight ahead and just ignore them. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, that's not how I want to live my life. I want to make sure that they know that they did their job, that they tried to reach out to me. I wasn't interested in their product, and I'm going to move on. So I think it's an interesting way to live life, and it works for me. So let's see. Kabuki lost some magic cards due to a water spill back in the 90s. Oh yeah, don't think of what they are worth today. Who knows? They could be cheap or expensive. You never know. Next Generation and DS9 have the best writing, says Randy. Okay. I don't think you can say that, because a bunch of the later episodes of Voyager were written by Bryan Fuller. And I will argue all day, every day, that Bryan Fuller's writing is some of the best in television, hands down. So maybe if you're looking at whole series, maybe that could be true. But I don't know. Those later seasons of Voyager have some brilliant writing in them. And I think it's mostly because Bryan Fuller was involved. I love Bryan Fuller. I've talked at length about how Hannibal should not have been canceled. I love that he started working on Star Trek Discovery. I don't like whatever drama happened behind the scenes, and he left the show. And then I think it wasn't really drama with him, but like, he kind of had to choose between Star Trek Discovery and American Gods. And I really wish he had stayed on with Discovery, because I think he would have been able to do some really magical things with it. And I love his work, but it is what it is. So best sci-fi show of all time is still Twilight Zone, says Kabuki Kid. Babylon 5 up there too. I watched a bunch of Twilight Zone here and there when I was a kid. But I've never really watched all of it. I guess it's not really a show that you have to watch, obviously, in any kind of serialized manner. You can just kind of pick it up here and there. I've never seen Babylon 5 at all, and I've heard such good things. It's one of those shows on my list of things I need to get to for sure. I'm going to try and rush through some stuff here. Yay, Netters showed up. Hi, Netters. I was talking about Burbs earlier, which makes me always think of you. Let's see. The movies are all horrendous, says Randy. Okay, I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Those movies have some brilliant moments in them, so I like them. Do I have a public email address? I do. If you want to email me things related to this show or my other work on the Dice Tower, you can email crystal@dicetower.com. So any questions you have for me or any suggestions about this show, other shows, feel free to email me at crystal@dicetower.com. Let's see. Disagree about Voyager being better than Next Generation. Okay. I mean, guess what? That's what's cool about life, is we don't have to agree. I was surprised that I liked Voyager more than Next Generation, truthfully. I did not expect to. Have I ever dipped my toe in a war game? I've never actually played a dedicated war game, to my knowledge. I don't think. So I would potentially be willing to, but I think because of my hesitance to be aggressive in games, I think it would have to be with the right people and the right setting. So, oh my gosh, I'm so far behind. Let's see here. Otter says, I am curious why there are so few female board game designers that get published when female writers are so common in the role-playing games arena. I think there are more female game designers than most people are aware of. I do think that there has been some trouble getting big titles from well-known publishers out by female designers, but I believe that that's changing. And I think that's a good thing. I think having more diverse people designing games is only going to be a good thing for the hobby. It's more voices mean more interesting and different types of content. So that'll be really exciting to see more coming out soon. But yeah, I think there are more than most people assume there are. There's some geek lists on Board Game Geek. If you go look, there's actually a lot of games designed by women that you might not even realize are designed by women. And theoretically non-binary people as well, not just women. But yeah, do some research. And also, if you see a game designed by a woman that you really like, shout about it. Let people know. And it doesn't have to be because that it's designed by a woman, but if, it can only help to lift up those types of things. Let's see. Oh, so they're going to be printing replacement cards for the Wingspan cards. And he caught the issue before the third printing of the game. Okay. Well, maybe it's good that I didn't grab a copy of it yet. I don't know how bad the issues are. So, it says 2 of the cards affect gameplay. Most of the other goofs are spelling errors. 2 cards also have the same bird art. Okay, so that's not horrible then. And I honestly, this is not a comment on Stonemaier games specifically at all. Because I think Jamie is actually really awesome about being transparent about the back end of publishing games. And he writes his blog and he does videos and lots of interesting information there. And I'm not hating on him in any way, shape, or form, but I think there are a lot of board game publishers who are trying to operate under small budgets because board games are not a super lucrative industry to be in. And I think final edits and proofreading might be one of the things that sometimes gets overlooked or not done quite as well as it could have. So again, this is not a comment on Stonemaier games, game quality, but I think overall a lot of larger publishers or even smaller publishers, when they have to make decisions about, where to allocate their money, hiring someone to do proofreading and final edits and reviews and things like that. I think that's sometimes somewhere that they often feel, okay, maybe we can cut costs here just a little bit. And again, I'm not faulting them for that. It's expensive to make games, and you don't become rich by making games. So I think it is valuable to invest money in things like that. And more publishers are starting to. I think more publishers are doing a really good job of hiring people to edit and proofread their rule books, which has been a huge issue with a lot of games in the past. I'm very curious. They just announced the new edition, the 3rd edition of Pret-a-Porter, the Ignacy, I think it's Ignacy Chevicek, right? Is that right? Oh gosh, I'm sorry if I have the designer wrong. I think it's Ignacy. And I know people have said in the past that the old edition's rulebook is horrible. So I'm hoping with this new edition, they've done some significant work on the rulebook. I imagine that is the case. But I know a lot of people are very excited to see that game come back. Let's see. Jim says, I recently just got back to board games. It's amazing how the board game world has expanded. He says he loves Catan and all its expansions. Can anyone recommend a game with likability of Catan but more complex? That is a big question. Catan, it depends on what parts you like of Catan. But Kabuki Kid actually gave you a really great suggestion there. They've done top 10 lists for a bunch of different things. And good gateway games are ones that you would definitely want to check out. Gateway games are kind of the ones that people suggest to people who are just getting into the hobby. It doesn't necessarily mean that the games are like super simple, but they're approachable. Like usually the rules are somewhat easier to learn and the gameplay is kind of just like quick to pick up. But sometimes some of those have some really interesting strategic depth to them. So yeah, look for lists of gateway games. I think that's a good one. And yeah, Kabuki Kid nailed it on the head. Tom has done a ton of lists here on the Dice Towers channel about games, top 10 whatevers. And I think he actually has done some based on other games. Like if you like older games, like, oh, if you like Monopoly, here are some other games that you might like that are better than Monopoly. That kind of stuff. So search for those. I'm technically 5 minutes over my normal time. So I'm going to scan real quick and make sure I'm not missing anything. We're talking about a lot of sci-fi shows, which is awesome. Ito apparently did a top 10 woman designers list. I have not seen that, but that is awesome. Let's see here. Karen says, I'm definitely getting to the point in game designer meetups where I'd love to be not the only woman in the room. I've got no clue how to make that happen locally, however. I wish I had advice for you, Karen. I know I personally have toyed with game design, but it's not something that I've been pursuing heartily, and I don't live near you, unfortunately. But if I did, I would be happy to come to those meetups with you. Let's see here. All right, so it looks like I've run out of questions generally. And Otter is the best. Thank you so much for mentioning that the Dice Towers Kickstarter is live right now. So if you all like the content on this YouTube channel and you want it to continue in its awesome form and getting better and better by the day and week and month, then you should go to Kickstarter.com. I actually am going to see if I can drop the link in the chat because I think I'm the only one who can do that, or maybe... let's see here. But yeah, you definitely, sorry, I'm losing my voice. You definitely want to go back to the Kickstarter for the Dice Tower. If you enjoy seeing all of the live videos, all of the game reviews, everything else. Kabuki Kid dropped it in the chat. Thank you so much, Kabuki. Please go check out the Kickstarter. Where are they at funding wise? I didn't even look. I'm going to pull it up on my phone because I think it'll be faster for me. We're at 94% funded. Oh my gosh, people, if you're in the chat right now, go over, back the Kickstarter. If we could hit 100% today, how amazing would that be? We've got 11 days left in the campaign, but I know that there's a bunch of crazy, awesome stretch goals. So we want to hit beyond 100%. Please go support the Kickstarter if you haven't already. And so obviously the best thing is just supporting the Kickstarter, but there's a lot of awesome like promos for games, dice towers, and other things that you can get as a thank you for your support in the Kickstarter, including, I think there's a breakfast and a dinner at Dice Tower West, which is the convention here in Las Vegas where I live. So you could maybe have dinner or breakfast with me. That's worth it, definitely. I'm pretty sure. Hopefully, I don't know. Oh man, I will be dieting at that point. So that's going to be tough because breakfast food. I love waffles. You all know. That's why I have a brunch themed Q&A show. Regardless, please go support the Kickstarter. We really appreciate all of your support. And thank all of you for joining me for my Q&A this month. It has been lovely talking with all of you. I am so happy I got to meet a bunch of you on the Dice Tower cruise, and I cannot wait until I get to see a bunch of you at Dice Tower West in just a couple of, like less than 2 months now. I can't believe it's less than 2 months away. I'm so excited. So thank you all for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, whether that is morning, afternoon, or night, if you are over in Poland or the other countries that we're visiting with us. And I will see you all on the next episode of Dice Tower tonight, which will be not this coming Wednesday, but the Wednesday after that. So until then, thank you all. And as always, have fun gaming. Bye, everyone.